Hello, Life Church. My name is Yvette Leitenheimer. I'm one of the younger church pastors here. I wanted to come to you with a reading as we prepare our hearts for Easter. And our desire was to come to you out of our homes. And for me, home is at my parents' house out in the country for right now. I hope that you can just join in as we read in John chapter 12, verses 1 through 11. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus arrived at Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took out a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. Leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well, for on account of him, many of the Jews were going over to Jesus and putting their faith in him. When I think about the story of Jesus eating with Lazarus and Mary and Martha, I think about how comforting that environment must have been, to be able to sit around the table with Jesus and the disciples and have this intimate meal and just the community that existed in that room at that time. I love the image of Mary getting up and offering her worship to Jesus. She had no inhibition. She gave it all to him right there, breaking that perfume jar on his feet, wiping his feet with her hair. I mean, what a beautiful picture of worship. But even in that midst, there was somebody else looking on with judgmental eyes, somebody else looking on whose heart was really on the things of this earth, and that was Judas. See, Judas's heart was about what was on earth and how he could have more for himself. And so while he was watching this moment of worship, he had a completely different perspective. He saw it as wasteful. But Jesus comes in and he defends Mary, and he reminds everybody in that room that he's not always going to be there. He's not always going to be in their presence in that moment. They're not always going to be able to see him, hear him, have fellowship with him. I'm sure it was confusing. They had no idea what the future held. Right? No idea. And then I think about us preparing for Easter. So often, especially right now in the middle of a pandemic, it's easy for me to be a little more like Judas, to want the comfort of this world, to be secure, to have all of the things that I think I need to have, and to make sure that I'm doing all of the things that I can do out of my own power, out of my own self-reliance. And yet, Jesus didn't praise Judas. He praised Mary. Mary, who kept her eyes on him, who worshiped him in that moment. It's a challenge to my heart, and I hope a challenge to you, that we can keep our eyes on Jesus in the midst of all of this craziness, that we can give him our full worship, because he isn't here with us in physical form, but we know that ultimately he died on the cross so that we could have relationship with him. And as a result of that, even in the middle of a pandemic, my hope rests on him. Please pray with me. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to hear your word today. Thank you for the story of Mary and Lazarus and Judas, Lord. I pray that as we begin to prepare our hearts for Easter, Lord, that we would keep our eyes on you in the midst of the unknown, in the midst of fear, in the midst of chaos. Father, that our eyes would be on you just like Mary's were. That we would give you our full devotion and our full worship, acknowledging that you are the Son of God, that you died on the cross for our sins, and that we get to have eternity with you because of that precious gift. Lord, I pray that you would help us steer away from the temptation to be like Judas, to seek comfort in the things of this world. It's tempting, but it isn't fulfilling, Lord. And so I pray that we would be fulfilled by you as we come to you daily and ask you to lead us, to give us your peace and your presence in this time, and that we would never forget your precious gift. In your name we pray. Amen.